Hi everybody. Coronavirus is still making trouble everywhere in the world. When it comes to how serious it is in different countries, I think everybody can just watch, statistic. In the internet there are a lot of information. But one thing that I would like to share with you is the information from China. That's the problem. When you check the statistic about Italy, about Spain, about US, probably it reflects pretty much the reality. But when you see the statistic from China, it's really difficult to believe that it is true. I mean, according to the Chinese official statistic, still today they have only 82,000 infected and 4,600 deaths. Much, with a country with 1.4 billion people. My God, how can that be true? You see, this is the thing that we should learn about how CCP work and actually how all communist regimes work. For them, information going out is extremely important. Mao used to say there are two things which is most important: the pen and the gun. Yeah. So the pen means propaganda. Yeah? You use your pen to tell people what you want people to hear. The gun is, of course, violence. So it's always deception and violence. That's their most important weapons. And in peacetime, the pen. In wartime, the gun. Yeah? So when we read Chinese statistics, we always have to bear in mind, this is how they think. They think statistic is not there to serve people so that they can better protect themselves against corona, so that people can better fight against coronavirus or whatever. Yeah? Always the figures just to serve the political purpose. So I give you an example how absurd this statistic some kind can be. I think on the 10th of April, if I'm not wrong, the official statistics said in the whole China, there was almost no new cases. Very few, extremely few. Yeah? I think it was something between 10 to 20 new infected cases. But according to the media, Epoch Times, they managed to get an internal document from the city of Harbin in the very north of China. In that document, this is an internal document. A document is a list of tested cases, coronavirus tested cases, whether they are positive or negative. And then it turned out that on the same day, on that list, it stated 34 people tested positive. I mean, only in one district, in one city. And China have, if you say China city with more than 1 million people, I think there are about 2,000 such cities. And in one of these 2,000 cities, in one little district, we have 34 infected. So how much we can trust the statistic? We are, anyway, in the very north of China, which is not far away from North Korea. North Korea, everybody understands. The Communist Party in North Korea are just lying all the time and they are absurd. Most people in the West, they understand that. But what they don't understand is there's actually no big difference between North Korea and the communist regime in China. In North Korea, they claim no infection, no case, 0 case, all the time. 0 case, 0 death. What is the truth? No one knows. Because in North Korea, it's then 100% zero transparency. It's just a sealed country. But if that is the case, you can ask, how come they were one of the first countries who closed the border to China? They must be very afraid of, why they are so afraid to get infected? Maybe because many people were already infected in North Korea and many people died. By the way, there were even South Korean newspaper reported that according to insider information, they took very tough measure in North Korea. If they discover someone infected, you know what is the treatment? They get shot. They were killed by the authority. That's the way to stop the spreading of the pandemic in North Korea. But okay, in Beijing it is not that barbaric as in North Korea. It's just because they are smarter in covering up. You know, it's like you have two thieves. Yeah, one is better to cover up himself of the theft than the other. But it doesn't mean that this thief is better than the other. Actually, it's more dangerous because he's good in covering up. Another typical example of the Chinese Communist Party information warfare is, you know, in the time of a pandemic crisis, their attention seems to be highest on information going out to the world. So what happened is they discover, the Chinese communists discover that European Union, the Office for Foreign Affairs and Policy, they were writing a new report about coronavirus pandemic. And they probably discovered that part of this report mentioned about how China cover up. And that lead to a lot of more spreading of the pandemic in the world. And they got crazy. So they went to the liaison office of the European Union in Beijing and put pressure on them to stop writing this anti-Chinese expression, okay? What happened? At the end, luckily, EU kept basically the original statement, but with a certain modification. And the modification is, instead of pointing straight to Chinese government is covering up, yeah, then they say, well, some governments, such as Russian and Chinese, do cover up thing. You know, a little bit softer, but at least they still point at this covering up. So that's good. But you guys should not think that the Chinese communist regime only do cover up and lies and deception and disinformation only in the case of corona pandemic. Actually, you know, exactly 21 years ago, on the 25th of April, 1999, yeah, 10,000 Falun Gong practitioners went to the petition office of the central government in China to appeal to them to give them freedom and to guarantee them the right to practice Falun Gong or any other Qigong. And you know what happened? The authority promised them, yeah, sure, don't worry. The government has nothing against practicing Qigong or Falun Gong. You know, just, you know, feel free to do it. That was the 25th of April, 1999. And what happened? About 3 months later, the 20th of July, they suddenly, at night, started a full-scale persecution against Falun Gong. Falun Gong practitioners were arrested from their home, you know, secret police or uniform police, it all depends on which region, went to their home at midnight, 2:30. I have friends who were my business partner, and they suddenly totally disappeared from my, no more response, no more telephone picking up my phone call, and so on. But 3 months earlier, they was telling the people, oh, don't worry, you guys can practice. Of course, you know, our government, our constitution guarantee the freedom of such practice. This is nothing new. That we must never be illusionistic. This is how they think. You know, they are always in the state of a war. You know that the communists in China, or even many normal Chinese, when they are children, they always learn there is an enemy. They always have an enemy. So people are always in a state of war. Yeah. So, and for us here, normal people in the West, sometimes we have difficulty to understand that. And this is what I want to share with you. What is going on is the information war, and there are many other They call it unrestricted warfare. So warfare going on without using cannon or rocket or whatever. So now we all would wonder what will happen, how will this pandemic end? Well, no one knows. And actually, to be honest, scientists are working hard to find vaccine and so on, but I think up till now, no one can explain how come there is a pandemic like that, except that the Chinese cover up, make it so widely spread in the world. But I mean, how this virus, how it originated, and also why this virus attack some area, some region more than the other, some people more than other people. And as I mentioned in the previous video, there is a certain pattern showing that the more closer you are to CCP, the more you are in danger being infected by this virus. Yeah, I mentioned that, Italy, Spain, they have a very friendly policy in the last few years to China. And New York, New York, where Wall Street, all the big capital organization or capital forces, yeah, they have been extremely friendly to CCP. They have helped CCP by investing a huge amount of money. So all this, you have to pay for the bill, and the bill is coming. So maybe it's difficult for us to believe it because we all believe in science, but science cannot explain everything yet. In the history, I mentioned before, like at the end of the Ming Dynasty, when the Manchuria fighting with the Ming army, there came a plague, and the plague only attacked the Ming army, not the Manchuria. Yeah? And somebody claimed that also the plague in the Roman Empire time, the Romans were attacked, but not the Christian. So how can we explain that? Well, that we can just say that the scientists have a long way to go to find out the ultimate truth of everything. Thank you for today. And so feel free to subscribe or click like and share with your friends and relatives. Thank you. Bye-bye.